Hi, and welcome to this World Water Week talk show. My name is Lena Sherman, and it's called The Entrepreneurial Approach to Conservation. WWF's Living Planet report from last year, 2022, reveals an over 80% declining in freshwater species in the last 50 years. Climate change, obstruction of rivers, and declining water quality are the main drivers for the decline. There is an urgent need to act on this situation and to reverse the downward trend. All stakeholders must work together, and we cannot ignore the rule of the business. I'd like to introduce to you the speakers. Elin Larsson, Director, Finance and Corporate Engagement at World Fund for Nature. Murali Dar, Director for Sustainable Agriculture, WWF India.
Thank you.
And Neha Madan Ashtana, Sustainability Development Leader at Inter IKEA Group.
Thank you.
All welcome.
Thank you.
Elin, I start with you. How can freshwater ecosystems connect with business continuity and sustainability?
Well, I think we all know the crucial role of fresh water if you want to run a stable and resilient business. And it's all kinds of businesses, from agriculture to the textile sector. And not to mention the bigger role of clean fresh water to ensure healthy ecosystem and ecosystem services that we are all dependent on. And water, climate change, biodiversity are all closely interconnected and have a deep impact on each other's, right? And for the last 50 years, we've had an extensive, or how should I put it, extensive growth in global trade, consumption, population growth, and all these trends has had a big impact on biodiversity and natural resources. So we see a depletion that is actually going faster than ever. And I think we can also agree that we're kind of taking water for granted. Both the access of clean water and while setting up our business plans and the calculations for price, we have not had the necessity to care about the price of water. Yeah. And that has had its effect, and I think that will probably change quite soon, because if we don't have access to clean water, it will definitely affect production, growing. Yeah. We might have to purify water before, using it in our production. That will increase the price dramatically, or not having enough water might risk people going out of business. So it's really connected, water, biodiversity, climate change, with the way we do business, right? So I'm happy to be in this talk, to be honest, because here we can talk about some concrete actions happening on the ground. And, the fact that it shouldn't only be front runners doing this. So how do we get everyone on board to create this change? So, yeah.
Sounds intriguing with the concrete things that's happening on the ground. Do you have any example?
Yeah, there are many examples, that I can quote, at this point of time. But, before I get into the examples, I just wanted to set a context, how the ground level challenges are there in terms of, to manage the water. There are two aspects of, the water when we talk about the water. One is about, the availability of the water in the given ecosystem. And that we can't do much on that, because that's driven by the nature, right? Because I'm just giving you a concrete example, the way the rainfall comes in given ecosystem. And then we have, the natural systems within the, the ecosystem who drives availability of the water, like wetland, rivers. They carry water along and they put into, into the different systems so that one can use it, in a judicious manner. So the big challenge is, in terms of which comes from the management of the water. And when it comes on the production side, there are many challenges, because we walk at the ground, we work with the smallholder farmers. They are not, they don't carry any kind of science-driven, the water management system. And their water, the kind of, the way they use the water, the use is quite notional, right? So they go, and if they figure it out, the land is getting dry, they start running their pumps and let water go into the, the production system. So what we have been doing, we are working with the growers directly and telling them, how much water they should be using instead of, in the notional, what happens when you are using a notional way of the water use, then, you lose more water, from the system. So there is a need to bring, some sort of science-based approach, and that science-based approach needs to be told to the growers, the how much and what quantity of water to be given at a given point of time. We have a NEHA, and from the IKEA, we have been running a big program in India, and where we are using the available best technology to provide the right advisories to the farmers, and then we leave up to the farmers whether they follow or not. Because what we have seen, the farmers are following because they understand these days the risks of not having water much. And they see, if these kind of advisories would come, and then they, they negotiate the water in such a manner so that they can make available water in the time when they need most, right? So that's how we have been working, and we have a quite, the deep matrix system where we have been seeing, how the water use is changing within the, the farms where the advisories are going in. And we saw, the quite, the use has changed. This depends on the region to region. But, I can tell you, without using any number at this point of time, we have seen, the behavioral change when you provide, the data to the farmers. And then the farmers, they use, the data in a very judicious manner in order to manage the water. So I will stop here, and this is the ground level work. We can talk more once in the next round. Yeah, thank you.
Nia, you represent the Inter-IKEA group. Can you talk about your sustainability strategy and how it is connecting to water issues?
Yeah. So our sustainability strategy focuses on the challenges that we see around in the world that impact our business as well as the people. Like climate change, water scarcity, resource unavailability, inequality, etc. And we have tried to integrate, all of it through our business wherever we can influence. So from water perspective, we have an ambition to be good water stewardship and contribute to clean water availability within our operations as well as value chain. And we realize that we can't do it alone. We need partners. We need stakeholders' engagement to be able to expand that work. We have strategic focus areas, especially increasing water availability and improving water quality. And specifically, to freshwater ecosystems, it is very, very important because, through our value chain, we are reaching out, or we are connected to different parts of, the globe or different geographies where certain crops are growing, where our commodities are coming from. So they become a very integral part. But we know that we need partners to work over there together with us. So with WWF, we have been doing 2 basin level projects that are very integral, one in Turkey, where just to quote an example, they have been working on cleaner production techniques to reduce the impact of effluents or pollutants, as well as in Noyal Bhavani Basin in India, where there's a lot of work going on with restoration projects, wetland restoration, as well as addressing conservation projects, right? So those are the ways, we try what we can do ourselves, we try to do with our suppliers, and then we take support of partners to reach out to the other areas.
Why do you do it?
Why do we do it?
Why is it important, do you think? As a company?
As a company, there are, it's in our vision to create a better everyday life for the many people. And that vision is,
You don't earn money from that.
No, but I think everything is not related to, just earning money. in our heart, our vision is the most important thing. And when we start looking at that vision, you know, to create a better everyday life for the many people. So the product development or the, you know, IKEA concept started when it was just consumers, you know, to create a everyday life. So having the right products for them. But, you know, slowly we have grown to understand who those many people are. You know, it's as backward as possible in our value chain that we can see. So, you know, we try and go one step behind and want to understand that where our influence is, you know, our direct influence, and where we can go, you know, through our resources, through our influence within our value chain, so that we can make a positive impact. Yeah.
I guess it's also about, I would think that it's also about minimizing the risk, you know, because as I started out with, if IKEA doesn't have clean water for their production in the future, that will affect the business. So, I mean, you are actually, by doing this work already now, you can be ahead and be, you know, prepared in a different way.
For business continuity.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So I guess it's a bit of both. Yeah.
And we need to think really long term, you know, like I said, that we have to be aware about the, the risks in the world. So resource scarcity is a huge risk out there.
Yeah.
We can't be oblivious to the fact that, you know, we don't need materials today, but if we look forward 10, 20, 30 years ahead, will there be resources available? The way, you know, the environment is getting impacted. For us to be able to even secure resources for future, to maintain business, to maintain availability, you know, we have to think really, really long term.
Elin, did you see this? Is this new? This way of thinking, even by the big corporate business?
It's been there for a while, I would say, but I think it's increasing the realization of the necessity of having this long-term approach, and we also see an increase of interest among others than just the really big ones thinking in long term.
Right.
But it's too little action. It cannot only be the front runners doing it as it is today, because that's not gonna, you know, be enough. We need to scale up and increase the pace. I'm sorry, but that's the case. It's urgent.
It is urgent. We
So,
are
I mean,
anyways
that's
running
why it's
very
also-
behind.
Yeah.
We are running.
So how do you work to get them open their eyes and then start doing this work?
Well, one thing is to really highlight the good examples and try to, you know, talk about the sense of urgency, but also showcasing the good examples to get more on board. But I'm thinking, you know, maybe we need to be more drastic also. I mean, the system we have today, the economic system, we have a production capital that is overvalued. We have a human capital that is undervalued, and we have a nature capital that is unvalued completely. So maybe we should put a price on nature, you know, to include that in the. I don't know if that's the way going forward.
What do you say? Have you seen any change in how big business are thinking around those problems?
I think we have seen, you know, the quite big change as compared to, you know, the 10 years ago. Now, as Neha was mentioning about, you know, that there is a realization among the, you know, the businesses, there is a water risk, you know, it could be further, you know, creating a ripple impact on the supply chains, because, you know, I can quote, you know, the one example here, which is a very live example. In one of the basin in down south in India, there were, you know, the operations there were 10, you know, the mills used to operate. And the mills used to get, you know, the sugar cane from in and around the area. Suddenly, you know, that area got drought, right? And that water wasn't there. So they closed their operations. You know, the 10 units, they were closed down for a couple of years. So there is, you know, the direct realization among the business community. They have seen the risk. They are feeling the risk, you know, by, you know, the compromising, you know, their operations. So now, you know, the awareness is there, because they are clearly, as I said, you know, seeing the risk which is coming on the operation, not having enough raw material for their, you know, the operation. So now they are taking up, you know, the bigger actions, bold actions, in order to, you know, walk on water. And they are seeing, you know, if they don't invest now, the future of the business would be on the risk, right? So there is a realization, and we can see, the IKEA is one of the front runner. They are the steward in, in whole, the business community, and they are, the inspiring other businesses to join in collective action. So it's a very visible, and we are seeing, the changes at ground and also at the up where the businesses are coming up and joining hand together for bigger collective action to address the problem at the basin level.
But still, there are a lot of information that you don't have. How do you deal with that problem of not having access to accurate data about, for example, sourcing of raw materials like cotton, palm oil, etc., with the fact that you still have to act right now?
Yes.
With the knowledge that you have right now?
Yes, that's a very, very, problem that we identify, right? Because we need to plan our strategy based on certain facts so that it is accountable, it is in the right direction. But at the same time, there are challenges related to data availability. There are so many new methodologies, frameworks, reporting requirements that are coming within the field of sustainability, and trying to manage that. There's more and more need to be granular, and sometimes it's daunting that rather than focusing effort on doing ground level work, sometimes we have to channelize our energy towards reporting and data management. That's the flip side. But at the same time, I think it's very important to have a big picture view, right? That what is the purpose? What is it that we want to do? And here I would like to quote our founder, Ingo Kamprad, that simplicity and common sense should characterize planning and strategic direction. I think that's in simple words, something that was said many years back, remain with us as a guiding force. Just to give an example, right now we are doing a methodology of contextual target setting. We have analyzed that materials are, more than 74% of our water footprint, and we still haven't set targets. We are on the journey of understanding all these methodologies, right? But, and within materials, cotton is a big part, right? But even not reaching the numbers here, way back, I think in 2015, we started, working on cotton when we did not have the numbers, but that business sense, that common sense, that understanding was there, that it is very, very important, right? So since 2015, we have been using cotton for more sustainable sources, that utilizes less water, less fertilizer. So I think having this two-pronged approach, that at one time, while we are increasing our understanding and granular data, but having simplicity at our back end and having the right intention that, okay, these are the main areas that we want to work on, we understand these are the main commodities, we know where these commodities are being sourced from. So why to wait for data to be available to start action? Let's start action, learn from it, learn by doing. And as we learn more data, more granular, we can be one step better, but that shouldn't stop us from doing something. So let's do it.
But that's a great message. I think that's what more companies should dare to get inspiration from. You need to get started. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have all the answers now, but you need to get started. It's better to do something, right?
Yes. And learn from it. We might fumble, we might make mistakes. Out of 10 things we try, some will work out, some will not. But that will also tell us what we should scale up, what we should do more, and we can always learn from the things that we did not work out. How do we do them better?
Is that one of the challenges you see, or that you have when you are reaching out to companies, that they are waiting for correct data? Or
yeah, maybe it's one of the challenges. I don't know, to be honest. But I think, yes, maybe you are a bit afraid to get started if you don't have the perfect decision, and the perfect data. It might,
But I can come on this. There is now the science is already being mature. So a lot of new tools are coming up, like the WWF, the water rest tool. And that itself is it has the deep science in it. And that would tell what kind of risk exposure would be of X company or Y company at given the point. So I think now the things are more evolved than the earlier, and convincing now. We have enough right now, the data and tools to tell, the companies
Yeah.
how the risk exposure would be,
Yeah.
and then what kind of action could
Yeah.
be taken in order to averse any kind of risk which would come from
Yeah.
not to have fresh water in the ecosystem. So I think now, the time is now. This is the reason people are joining hand with, the together and creating a collective action. In going forward, we will see more, the companies working together and creating a collective action to address the bigger problem, which one company or one community can't resolve it by its own.
Thank you so much. So sorry to say, but we are running out of time.
Okay.
And yeah, time flies. Thank you so much. And
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
yes,
I don't know
we
how
are
it goes.
leaving the online audience with a big applause for you all.
Oh,
Thank you.